Hi everyone. I hope we are doing very fine, and I'm happy today again to be on the stage to have a conversation with you about steps to onboard Copilot users. It is going to be a full demo. Excuse me, I tried to check my speaker here and I see I'm good in speaker. So today's session is going to be hands-on as we used to do it. So Copilot, Microsoft 365 Copilot is a very important tool. Myself, I've used it for the few months now, um, and I can confirm that any organization that wants to buy should go ahead and buy the license. It is truly very useful. To start with, my name is Joseph Afeso. I am a Microsoft MVP and Microsoft certified trainer. I am resident in Nigeria here, and today is going to be as interesting as we used to have other days. And if care is not taken, it's going to be more interesting today. What is Copilot? It's actually a powered Microsoft AI that helps to revolutionize the workspace. In my own definition, it makes life very easy for you as an end user, for you as an administrator, and therefore there is need for us to okay, let's look at it. Something that comes with a cost has to do with what we need to optimize rather. So organizations don't just jump into doing things. They want to say, okay, we have 500 users instead of buying 500 seat counts because one seat count is going to be about $360 per user per year, right? Or you're going to buy monthly $20 per user per month. So it's going to be a bit expensive to just jump right into it without first of all understanding how it all works, right? So that's why today I'm going to be showing you how you could get a handful of your users and say, okay, you are in IT. I want you to check out this application and see how well it is being used. You are in the innovation unit. I want you to go into this and try to use it and see how it truly works, and then we can, adopt it and then push it over to the other users or across other users so they can make use of the license, and actually prove or use it to facilitate the way they naturally would do their things. So that's going to be the whole of it today. It's not going to be of slides or going to be anything around theoretical details in discussion, but we're going to be seeing it practically how it is and how you would want to adopt this beautiful technology, right? So I'm bringing up my paints. I'm just going to be having a conversation. I want to just randomly, have a design that come to something that we can use to show what we want to do. Let us say that you have, and this is your organization, right? And I'm just going to put the heading here. Okay, so I'm just going to do this. I think there are comments that I need to look at. Oh, okay. That's cool. Thank you, Stephen. I have this being um, my organization, my on-premises organization, or as the case may be, the building of my organization, right, where people actually come to work, like my physical office or virtual office, as the case may be. Then I have a number of users. Let's say that we have these users sitting inside of here, right? So now these users are the entire users I have in my organization. So this connotes represents the entire users in the organization. But I want to say no. I want to have like just a very few persons, and those few persons may just be people in IT departments. So these people in IT department are going to test Copilot, right? So we are going to call this all users. Then we're going to say these people are in IT departments. Okay, so what you want to do is these people in IT departments, you want them to be able to test Copilot and then come back to let your users or give feedback to you as an administrator, and then you use that information to see where there are needs of things you want to train or things that don't work as you expect them, depending on your environment and how best you want to advise your users to make use of those licenses, right? Now, let's look at it. So what you want to do is to create a group and then put the IT guys inside there, just a small group where, yes, they are just on their own. So what they want to do is they want to test out the application in their environment and see how effective it is, right? Now, what we are going to do is, having known that this is the organization, right? Let me just say this org, and then this is a group, right? GRP is a group. Okay. Now we're going to create a group, and this group this time is going to be a dynamic security group, so that when we create this group, then it automatically picks those guys in IT or those people that you would want them to be in this group. In this case, we are using all IT department users, right? So we want to have them automatically come into the group. We don't want to create the group and manually add them to the group. We want to automatically populate them here. Apart from that, if there is need for us not to add someone here, we can just tweak the department and then the person leaves the group, right? So this is how we want to design our solution. And then when we have them come into this, so there's one very good attribute in Microsoft Teams that should be enabled for you to be able to optimize Copilot in Teams, and that feature is a transcription option, right? The transcription option is very key because when you have a meeting where you have transcription enabled, then what happens is that your users are going to be having what is called the AI generated note. The AI generated note is a recap of everything that transpired in the course of the meeting, and even speaking about the action plans and those that are assigned to carry out some specific tasks and get back. From my observation, I see that the recap of those meetings are more detailed than even what a secretary could take during the course of a meeting. And this is so secure that it's only those people who are members of that meeting that will have access to the meeting transcription. Okay, so let me just check that my volume is still up. Yeah, of course, I'm still audible. Thank you. So looking at that, so what we want to do in Teams is we want to use this group, and then we want to create so this that we have here, we are going to create this dynamic security group, from Entra Admin Center, right? So we are going to do it from Entra Admin Center. So let me just say enter and see how it will be, right? I can just space this out and I say I'm going to do this from Entra ID. Okay, no problems. I'm just going to state it here. Dynamic security group. I'm going to be doing that from Entra ID. Why are you doing this? Entra ID. Then for those in Teams, so what I want to do is, for what I want to do in Teams for this particular group is for me to create a group. Create a policy. I want to create a meeting policy and then assign it to this group of users here, right? So what I want to do is create a custom meeting policy, assign it to the users in IT, so that they can have option for transcription in Teams, just in case my organization policy does not allow me to enable transcription. So I could create a custom policy. So we're going to be having a flow. The flow is going to start from the M365 admin center, and then we flow to another admin center, which is going to be the Entra admin center. From Entra admin center, we're going to flow to the Teams admin center. So today we are going to be working on 3 admin centers together. So like I mentioned, we're going to start from M365 admin center. Then, so what we do next is we are going to work on Entra admin center, and then we're also going to work on Teams admin center. So we'll put all of this together and we'll come back to the M365 admin center. So what do I mean? So what's going to happen at this point is we are going to be having this admin center here where we want to navigate to the enter admin center. So what we are doing at the enter admin center is for us to create the group, which is the dynamic security group. And then, yes, Emmanuel, thank you very much. Thank you for your comments. So we're going to create a group from here, which is the dynamic security group. And then when we come to the Teams admin center, what are we doing? We are going to be doing the Teams meeting policy, Teams meeting and calling policy, because you can also turn on and turn off transcription and calling policy. So apologies if it's looking a bit. Let me see if I can space it out. Yeah, I think it's better this way. Let me move it back a bit. All right. So I'm going to be doing the Teams meeting and calling policy here, and then we'll come back to M365 admin center. And what I'm going to do here, we'll be doing the reports here. So if you understand this flow, right, it's going to be like we'll come here to the M365 admin center, admin.microsoft.com. Then we'll go to the enter admin center, enter.microsoft.com, and then we'll come to the Teams admin center, admin.teams.microsoft.com, to go and do the policy, and then thereafter we'll come to look at the reporting. So why do we even want to look at the reporting? We want to look at the reporting because we want to know so among the IT guys that were giving these licenses, who actually truly used the license? I mean, who used the solution in Teams? Who use it in Word? Who actually use it in Outlook? Who use it in? We can track everything that is happening, so that if you use this to experiment how to track this reports in your organization, it therefore means that when you also give out the license to your users, you will be able to know who is using the license and where. I mean, who is using the solution and where it is being used, the heavy use, and then maybe the heavy users and those who do not even use it at all. You can know when there is that time for you to start removing license from people and reassigning to others. Of course, you know what to do, or cutting down your seat count as well, because it is very important. So the essence of this today is just to help organization optimize Microsoft 365 Copilot, and that's the whole essence of this conversation. So I'm going to drag this guy and put it by the other screen, and then we'll follow through all that we've just described in the theoretical sessions, right? So I'm just going to pull up my VM right now. So my VM, where are you? Yeah, this is it. So now we are in this URL. So I always tell my friends that one of the best URLs I've learned this year is cmd.ms, because it makes life way easy for me, right? Like, it exposes me to everything in Microsoft, you know. So this is the Microsoft command line, right? It's the Microsoft command line, or the home that you can actually, if you are tired of clicking around Microsoft portal and getting blades, you can just keep this closed. So the good thing, anytime I get here, I would like to explain it. So the good thing about here is, if you want to focus on M365, so everything you're going to be having is just on M365. If you're working basically in maybe in Azure, you can just streamline it to Azure. Of course, you see every link that is open here is Azure for me. And if I want to look at Defender, of course, I can just be here, and everything that is here is going to be Microsoft Security. So you can see all portals and everything will just come out. So this is very important. So if you click on the first one, which is the Entra, then you're going to find yourself here, right? Because I've clicked it open before this call, right? So this is the Entra admin center, which is going to be, so first off, I mentioned that we're going to go through the M365 admin center first, not the Entra. So this is it, and that's going to give you this, which is admin.microsoft.com. This is the admin center where a lot of magics happen, right? So now looking at this place, if you want to go to other admin centers, depending on the admin role that you have, of course, you can expand it and click on identity to take you to Entra, right? So you can create users from here, do a lot of things from here, but I would prefer to do that from Entra IT today because of the other things I want us to do. So on this call, we are going to be having two guys who are in the IT unit. So these two guys, we will not be adding them to any group. We're just going to create the users and then give their department as IT. So because it is assumed that these users are those in the IT department that we want to have them test out the Copilot usage, right? So what we'll do is we can come to users. So if it is like you need to create users, right? You can come here, you hit on create users, and then you give them the attribute. But I feel something is very important I mentioned, but this time we're not talking about onboarding like the whole tenant, right? We're talking about an already existing tenant, and then you want to, experiment co-pilots, right? So I would rather come to all users, right, which will give me like the list of all the users I have in my environment. And I want to say that I want to say that lab rat and lab lab rats and lab guys are in IT, or that word is going to be a bit confusing. So for us, I'm just going to use Christopher, right? So just try to remember, I'm trying to use Christopher and Frank. Okay, so we're going to use Christopher and Frank to do this demo, and then let's see, right? So if you look at, first of all, let's look at Christopher. We look at Christopher's attributes. What department is he? So we just want to check something now because we want to create that group and see that everyone in. So if you click on the user from the Entra Admin Center, it's just going to take you to the identity. So the identity is where you see the name and all of that, right? So if you want to give it, if you want to go deeper into like the job details, then what you're going to do is to click on the job info, right? So the department, we're going to call it IT. I know that I have other guys that are in IT, but I'm just going to hit on save, right? So the department is IT. Okay, so that's taken. So I know that I have other users. During the course of the previous demos I did, I also added some users to IT. So I will not want to overflow that. I know that I have Dan Ray in IT units the last time I set up that account. So I just want to quickly confirm that, and then we can move on to the next thing that we want to do. So I'm just going to do this, and I'm just going to go in innovation. So I just want to move into IT. So I'm going to click on save. Okay, so I also want to change another user to IT, and that's just going to be who now. Let's click on users. Maybe we're just going to use Frank and change the department to IT. So what it means is that these guys are all in the IT department of this organization that we are talking about. So here we have at least 3 users who are in IT now. So these are the pilot users that we are going to make use of in the course of our demo. Now, if we come to groups, right now where I use, so this is groups. If we come to all groups, then we are going to be having the option to create groups. So these are the groups that are currently in this organization, right? So if I click on new group, so I have the option to change it to M365 group or security group. I prefer to leave it as security group at this time. And then what's going to be like the name of the group? I'm going to call it IT Copilot test users. I think it's just fine, right? Let me just hold it so that in case I forget. So the description is always very important for us to put descriptions so that other administrators can know about this. So this is about the membership type. So the membership type speaks to, are you going to be adding users to the group manually, or do you want them to be added to the group automatically based on some attributes? So that's where we come here to click on the drop down here. We say we want the group to be a dynamic user group. So what this means is that the group itself is going to be automatically adding people to itself, right? So, and once you turn it to dynamic user, then the dynamic query becomes compulsory or becomes required before you can move on to the next phase. So if you have option for dynamic device assigned, we remove the required option from this. So I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to do dynamic users. Okay. So if I do dynamic users, so the next thing I want to put dynamic query. So if I come to dynamic query, I can add an expression. So it is at this point I want to state what should bring people into the group. So I'm going to hit on this. So I'm going to say, for now, just one query is enough for me. I'm going to say add expression. Excuse me, I didn't need to do that. I can use only the first expression by coming here to say which property. I want to look at department. So once the department of the user is equal to IT, then the user should be automatically added. So once you click on that, the next thing you do, click on this empty space, then the rule syntax or the syntax rule is going to be here. So it's going to be like user.department hyphen EQ, semicolon, what's it called, quotation IT. So what this means is that once a user's department is seen as IT, then the user should be automatically added or get added to the group. So once you do this, the next thing you want to do is to save. So if you click on create now, the group has been created and there is no option for you to add a user. I know that the group's name, I copied it just so I don't forget the name of the group. So this is the group. So we're going to hit on it. So when we open this group, we have option to go look for, check for the members of that group. At this point, it is possible that the users are not yet here, right? So what you can do is to hold on, and if you are curious to confirm if what you did was correct, we can go to dynamic membership rule, and then when we come to this place, we can, there's something I want us to do, and that is just hold on, let me quickly look at it, and that is here validate rule, right? So the validate rule is going to confirm if a user matches, if the user's attribute matches what you have here. So if the user's attribute matches what you have here, then the output of your query or your inquiry is going to be a green check mark to see that the user actually matches the attributes that the user needs to have to be a member of this group. But if it is marking red, so what this means is that, hey, this user cannot be here. So we'll do two examples. So I'm just going to say add user. So that we want to validate, right? I'm going to be picking some group of users, right? I know that I have this guy's department as IT, Frank as IT, this guy. So if I click on this, so what happens is that it validates it. And if you check very well, if you can remember, we had changed Christopher's department to IT, then we had changed Danre's department to IT, and then we have changed Frank's department to IT. Because of this, we can have this checked as green for us, and for this are checked as red because they cannot be in this group. And why? Because their attributes are not speaking to the attribute that we have pre-configured for members of that team. So if you've done this and the group member is showing 0, just cross your fingers and maybe you grab some bottle of drink and just relax. And then after just a very short period of time, the users will fly into that group themselves. So having said that, I'm going to cancel this. So I'm going to open the group again, and I will expect maybe by this time that we should have the members of the group already existing here. Oh, beautiful. So what this means now is that we have Christopher, we have Danre, we have Frank showing here. But before I go on, I'm going to look at, because I know that I have, so I'm coming to the M365 admin center, and I'm coming to users. If I come to active users, I want to see these two users. I should see licenses, and I should see this. I don't have license assigned to him, which is fine, right? So if I check Frank also, let me check. It's on license. Actually, from outside there, you could even see it, right? It's on license, and then Christopher is licensed for Copilot. So what I want to do is to manually remove this license from this user. Watch out for one thing. When I come to licenses now, I can have option to uncheck it. Take note of what I just did. I'm just going to save it. Okay. Now, having done that, I'm just going to click on this, and then what next do I want to do? I want to be here, and I want to give license to that group that we just created, not individual, but the group, right? So what I will do is I'll come to, where are you, billing. So when I come to billing and I go to licenses, so if I come to licenses, I can see what I have. So I think one of the best places I can go is here. Let me see. Okay, yes, I am now here to look at the users, and then these are the groups I have. So what I want to do is I will come to, why is the group not showing anybody for me here? So I'll just come to assign. Okay, if I come to assign, so what I see is that I have not oh, I was just in M365, not in Copilot. Excuse me. I was wondering. Okay, so I'll come back to licenses, and I'm coming to Copilot, which I have 16. I have 16 left, right? So it means that the group I am assigning these licenses to should have a group that has maximum of 16 to be able to take up those licenses, because other users that will join the group are not going to be licensed for Copilot. So I'm just going to hit on assign license, right? So I'm going to search for that group that we created. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to select this, and then once I do this, the next thing I want to do is to click on assign. So if I click on assign, so what happens here is that you've assigned license to IT Copilot users. Licenses are being assigned to IT Copilot test user. It might take a moment for the process to complete. The assignment and its status will appear in the group list shortly. Just feel free to close the panel. So if I do this now, so you see that the group itself is not here yet. However, we have the Copilot pilot users, all licensed. These are groups. The innovation, all licensed, and then this also all licensed. And then we can go on to we can decide to unassign license from a group. So the good thing about what we just did is, at any instant in time that we do not want the license to be assigned to any member of this group, what we'll just do is to simply come to the group and unassign the license from that group, and every member of that group loses the license. Same thing happens here. So if I click on this, so I will just go to unassign licenses, and then that will be all. Everybody goes, right? Then test dynamic also, I can also decide to remove license from there, but that's not the focus of this time. I want to refresh and see if that license we gave to the test group or the IT testing group that we created is now available. It is here, IT Copilot test user, all license assigned. All licenses assigned, but we only assigned one license, right? We can assign multiple licenses to a group, right? But the license you are assigning to a group must match the number of the users you are having inside of that group. So that's very important. You can't have 10 users in a group and you are assigning 9 licenses to that group. So the last person that enters the loop will not have, that enters the group rather, will not be licensed. Having said that, now, so what that means is, if I come back to active users, and then I remember the users that were there, example was Christopher, right? So if I come to Christopher, I will see that is licensed for M365 Copilot, as well as Dan, as well as Frank, right? Now, if you come to Christopher, and then you want to remove the license the same way you did, it is not going to work, because Christopher is now licensed from the group level and not from the individual assignment level. So the only way you can remove Copilot license from Christopher is to either go and remove Christopher from the group, or remove the license from the group as a whole. And I'm sure that makes sense to you. Having said that, now the group has Copilot license, so it's expected that they are going to be making use of it. So the next thing is, while in Teams, if transcriptions are not enabled, then the AI generated notes is never going to work. And this is very important that we take note of it. So, for example, I have a meeting here. I want to just quickly go. I know the importance of Copilot in Microsoft Teams meeting, and most time I have opportunity to speak about these things. I try to stress the use of Copilot in generating meeting minutes. So it will be capital unproductive of any administrator to assign Copilot to a user and then disable the transcription option for that user from the Teams admin center. I am not saying that compliance reasons cannot make you turn off transcription, but I am just saying that it is a huge underutilization if you have assigned the Copilot license to a user and yet the user's transcription is turned off. So if you want to test out this feature, let's say in your organization, compliance has said no, you cannot turn on transcription. However, you have assigned this license to these users in IT, and you want them to be able to test the entire features of Copilot in all the workloads, M365 workloads, then you want to enable transcription for just these pilot users, just so you can see how Copilot works with the Microsoft bots in meetings to to transcribe those meetings. Then what you want to do is to come to Copilot here, right? To come to Copilot, for example, now if I come to this meeting here, I just want to check one of the trainings that I had with my mentees. So SharePoint, my day 3 training, it was a recorded session. So when you open this, you're going to see recap, right? So this recap, or the recap you have here, based on the fact that the call was recorded and then transcription was enabled for us. Therefore, if I click on this to view the meeting recap, then I'm going to be having two things. One of it is AI generated notes, and the second one is transcription. Now, yeah, if you are using Microsoft Teams, you may be used to transcriptions a lot. But remember that transcription is going to be like a very long note. I mean, this meeting was for about 1 hour 30 minutes the last time I just looked at it, right? If I can see it from here. And then everything that was said during the course of the meeting, when people broke into conversation and then they left the conversation, came back to it, everything is just going to be here, like word to word. If the system cannot actually identify the language spoken, it can even, write something else as against what the individual said during the course of that conversation. But the good thing about, or the difference between the AI generated note and the transcription or the transcript, is the consolidation of the messages that are said, that are recorded. And this is like a very professional way of putting down meeting minutes. So this will tell you that SharePoint administrator, Joseph discussed at the administration rather, Joseph discussed the administration of SharePoint, covering topics such as this site and all of that. So this is a very detailed but short notes, or concise, I would say, rather than saying short, concise notes about what was discussed during the course of the meeting. And this is very, very useful. So if I want to take note of this, I could just hit on copy here, and then I can put it on my notepad. I can put it on Word. I can, rephrase it. I can now, use it to reply to maybe if we have a document series that we need to follow. And then the good thing about it down here is that it will also tell you, okay, if there are follow-ups. For this, there were no follow-ups. So this is a very important part of the note. So let me check another note and see if there are follow-ups here. Yeah, you can see that follow-up task, SharePoint migration, right? SharePoint hub sites. And then we also have a part that speaks to SharePoint trials, and all of these are the follow-up tasks that we are in this call. And who was it assigned to? Review the SharePoint migration tool and provide feedback on its performance and any encountered issue. Joseph, it was assigned to him. And then if you come to check SharePoint website, you can see that it was assigned to all team members, and then the ShareGate trial was assigned to Joseph. So this is going to like give you, is it any other business or follow-up calls or action plans? I think that's the right word, that is given to consolidated. So the reason why I'm digressing into this angle is because of the importance of knowing the use of Copilot in your meeting transcriptions. So that's why I want to say that even if organization says no, that I cannot allow transcription for the entire users, but you want to allow transcription for a handful of users in your organization, you can do that by using policy. So using policy, I mean, is that you can come to the Teams admin center, which is admin.teams.microsoft.com. So if you go to admin.teams.microsoft.com, the first thing you're going to see here. So let me even show you something. If you come to the M365 admin center, and then you will see Copilot here if you are licensed for Copilot, right? So if you click on the Copilot here from the M365 admin center, so what happens is that if you come to settings, right, and then you will see somewhere here where it is written Copilot in meetings. So now the description is saying go to the meeting Teams admin center and change how Copilot is used in meetings, right? So if I hit on this, it is going to take me to the Teams admin center 1. It is going to take me straight into the meeting policy 2, and then it's going to lead me ahead to the transcription, turned on or off. So I'm going to hit on meeting transcription, Copilot in Teams. Now watch out for the URL. The URL is going to teams.microsoft.com, then it is going to policies, it is going to meeting policies, and then going to Copilot transcript mode. Copilot transcript mode. And this is where we have this option here to say find the related setting here. So do you want transcription to be off or on? So if the policy in your organization would say turn it off, you can turn it off. But for the IT guys, you can decide to create policies that would allow them to explore some particular features that are not available for all users in your organization. So having said that, we'll just come back quickly to the Teams admin center, how you would have done that, right? So this is like a fast track of getting to where you want to get to, like on time. But if you want to go through it step by step, you are supposed to go to admin.teams.microsoft.com. Then the next thing you see by the left-hand side here is the drop down here, which shows audio conferencing. So audio conferencing is people dialing into a meeting using telephone number without having to have the meeting link. So they have the conference ID and the conferencing number or the conference brief. So they just call straight into that meeting, even if they don't have internet. So that's like a brief. Then the next thing that you see is meeting policies, right? So if you click on meeting policy, and then you will see that meeting policies lets you control what features are available to meeting participants when they join Teams meeting, and allow you to manage the meetings, the join lobby experience, and all of those. So let's say that you are going to create a policy, and this policy this time is going to be policy that is meant for the test users of Copilot in your environment, right? So you will not, so for every policy you open, you will always have the global org-wide default policy. So this is the policy that came with your Microsoft Teams. And then if you look at the custom policy header here, you will see that here is showing no, then here is saying yes, and this is saying yes, yes, no, 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 no. So what is the meaning of the yes, no, no, and yes, no, no, right? Looking at it, the global policy, or the global, which is also called the org-wide default policy, comes with the tenant. So it is not custom policy. That's why it is saying no. So for testy test, yes, it is a custom policy. I probably created that. Then for pilot users, it's a custom policy. I created that. Innovation also, I created it. And all on is actually no, because it also came with this. So you're going to have some few policies that are just going to be like the default policy that came with your tenant. So best practice is do not alter the global policy. but you can mimic global policy. So that if you want to turn on something in global policy that is by default turned off, the best practice is leave the global policy, create a custom policy, and then turn on or turn off whatever function you want to turn off, in that policy you are creating. Let's say, for example, you have global policy that allows one-on-one call record, that allow meeting recording, and then you want to disable meeting recording across the organization. So instead of going to turn off the global policy call recording option, just simply create a custom policy and give it a name. And then in that policy, you can go ahead and and try to turn that feature on. Apologies, I got a bit distracted. You can turn that feature off or you turn it on. So when you do that, the next thing you do is you can give it a proper description to let people know. So when you assign the custom policy to a user, then it takes precedence over the global policy because custom policies are stronger than global policies. So once you change the policy of the user to that policy, then that is what will take effect in the user. Okay. So if the global policy is saying allow meeting recording is turned on, or who can bypass lobby, all of those are turned on or off, right? And then you want to say no, I want to say I don't want this, right? You can just create custom policy. I think enough of theoretical conversation. Let me just go to creating it, and then I think it is better while we're having the conversation inside of there. So I think I still have this copied. So I want to paste this. Okay, I think I changed what I copied there. Just give me a second. Let me quickly look at something here. Okay, so I don't want to use, because I'm in the VM, I can't use Windows V. Okay, it's good. No problem. So we can just quickly pick up the name here. I think the name of that is IT Copilot test users, right? So it's fine. IT Copilot test users. So we can call it meeting policies just to be explicit policy. So what we do is we do this, and then we can say it's in add a description. So we can just quickly say this is to test out Copilot. So what I was trying to say is, for example, if in your global policy, then it was enabled that the user should be able to meet now in private channel if it was enabled and you don't want it for your organization. So once you are turning these features off, then you are assigning this policy to a user, then this is the policy that will take precedence over the global policy. That's what I was trying to say, right? So now if you look at it, then this is saying channel meeting schedule. If you want them to be able to schedule meeting from channel, you can leave this on, otherwise you can leave it off. And then meet now in private channel, do you want them to be able to use the ad hoc meeting, which is a meet now option? You can decide to turn it off or turn it on. Then if you come to the add-on in Outlook, you can decide to turn it off or turn it on. This does not affect the global policy. What about the meeting join and lobby, right? So you can also come here and say anonymous users can join meetings. So this is actually something that is different from what we are having a conversation about. But I must explain this to you, that anonymous user can join meeting, speaking to those that can join meeting without signing in or having an account with Microsoft. So they can copy the link to your meeting and put it in private browser and join your meeting. And whatever name they enter into that meeting is going to be the name that will be stored in the attendee report. So sometimes it's not very good because at this time, little or few things are known about the anonymous user. So there was an issue that was raised in 2021 when I was troubleshooting teams for a customer from United Arab Emirates. So what happened in that call, it is cool, right? And then the students joined in meeting anonymously and typed in one very scary word as their name. They joined the meeting and then they left. And then when the meeting report was pulled, then that scary name came up in the report, and there was a disturbance to say, hey, how do we know who came in to join this meeting? With Daniel, we did a lot during that period. Now, I think the rest can be tagged as history now. So what I'm trying to say is that if you don't want that kind of occurrence, you may want to turn this off to say no. If you don't have an identity with Microsoft, then I should not. If you don't have an identity with Microsoft, at least a private account, you should not just be able to join my meetings. It depends on what actually works for you, right? So now looking at anonymous users can dial into meetings. So this is speaking about the audio conferencing that I just mentioned earlier. So audio conferencing, you can actually dial into use non-internet connected device to call into Teams meeting. And I think from experience, the audio is clearer than when you join, full-fledged meetings, right? So you can actually join meetings hand-free by just your telephone without necessarily having access to the internet. So it's saying that should anonymous users be able to dial in, it's turned off by default. Let's just say you want to turn it on against what is available with the global policy. Of course, you can do that. But where are we even going into? We are going into meeting transcriptions, right? Because that point is the point that is so important to us in this conversation. So we can scroll down to say, okay, what is there? Where are you? Then recording and transcription. So recording and transcription settings lets you control these features. I will read it again. Recording and transcription settings lets you control how these features are used in Teams meeting. So you can learn about it. Then this is saying that meeting recording is it on? Is on. But again, I must say that meeting recordings are not necessary to be on before your AI can generate your notes. So, but what is required is your transcription should be turned on, and the users in the meeting should turn on transcription during the course of the meeting. Of course, you can schedule a meeting and say the meeting should automatically record, right? And then when recording starts, the transcription actually follows. So, but if you join a meeting, for example, I have a meeting here. I can take you there very quickly. I have a meeting here. So this TMCC catch-up meeting, the same policy applies to all the users that join this meeting. But during the course of this conversation, they did not turn on the recording, neither did they turn on transcription. Because of that, there is no AI-generated note for this meeting. So it is very, very important that when we are doing this, we should be mindful of turning on transcription. So if I click on recap, for example, this meeting is not going to have AI generated notes. Gets AI powered meeting notes. So turn on transcription and AI can generate notes and suggest tasks to follow up on, which is what we just mentioned in the previous conversation. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you don't turn on your transcription, then the AI cannot generate notes for you. And then it is very important also that I mentioned here that even if you don't turn on recording, recording is not a requirement for the AI to generate your notes. But again, transcription is compulsory. So let us go back to where we are in the meeting policy. So I was just trying to say that here where you recording and transcription. So require participant agreement for recording. So that's not part of what we are looking at, right? So this is speaking to compliance where everyone gets notification to give consent before meetings can be recorded. That's a conversation for another time. Then, so what we're trying to say is this option here should be turned on, right? This option here, transcription, should be turned on. Transcription turned on, just so the AI can generate the notes if the users in the meeting, enable that. So now this is very important also, the meeting recording expiration. So I will just use this opportunity to discuss about the meeting recording expiration. The meeting recorded from Teams when they are scheduled from channels are saved to the corresponding SharePoint site of that channel. Then if you schedule a meeting from calendar, then the meeting recordings are going to be saved to the individual's OneDrive. So before now, it used to be the OneDrive of the individual who recorded the meeting. But recently, which is very, very beautiful, Microsoft has arranged it so that the recordings are going to be saved to the OneDrive of the meeting organizers, right? So that's clear. So because of the storage space and because the recordings of meetings are in MP4 format, then of course you want to see, and research has shown that people hardly go back to watch recordings after the first month of meeting being recorded, except on cases where it is being used for audits and related stuffs. But regular meetings, catch-up calls, and all of those, most of the time within the week, members of the teams who were not available would have gone to watch and they may never go back to those recordings. But those recordings are sitting in the OneDrive or the SharePoints where these meetings are recorded and kept. Because of this, admin can decide to, okay, recording automatically expires. If it says no, right, what this means is that the recordings are ever going to be there. Nothing is going to happen to them. They are just going to be sitting there, but then it is subject to the retention policy that is set up. That must be said. Now, looking at that, if we turn on this one, then it want to ask us how many days. Then you have between 1 and 99,999 days. That is 9 into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? Excuse me. So I can decide to say, okay, recordings of meetings should expire after 60 days, right? As the case may be, I just type 50 from 1 to just that number, right? You can decide to leave it, but I think this is not a part of our conversation. But then, after a meeting has been recorded, an individual can decide to remove expiration from that meeting, but then it's still subject to the retention policy. Okay, so having said that, the next thing I want to do is to click on save. So if I save this, I have created a policy, right? So it is saying changes will take time to take effect. Changes to global org-wide defaults will have an impact across the organization. So this is what I was trying to say. The org-wide defaults policy is the policy that applies to everyone in your organization, but it is the weakest policy. So once another policy is created and assigned to that user, then it overrides the global policy. So that's it. I'll just hit on confirm. So the policy has been created, and then so we can come back to oh, I was altering the global policy. Apologies. What happened? Okay, let's see. Oh, yeah, this is the page I was supposed to come back to. So what I just did, I altered the global policy, but we don't have time to go back to that. But I'll just quickly turn on, make sure that this is turned on here. Where is it? Transcription is turned on here for this, and then I'm just going to hit on save, right? So I opened multiple tabs and I went to the wrong tab while I was working. So having created the policy that we created, let's move on with that. Then we are talking about the IT test user meeting, right? So what we do is to assign this policy to a user, we're going to click on this, and then we can click on manage user, and then we assign user, and then the next thing we do is to search for user from this list, right? But this is not what we want to do. What we want to do is to assign the policy to a group, just so the policy can transcend across everyone. So instead of clicking on this and then manage and assign user, I would rather click on group policy assignment. So if I click on group policy assignment, the next thing that happens is that I have option now to assign the policy to a group. So which policy do I want to apply to a user? I want to apply the IT test. I'll just click on add. So what's the group I want to give the policy to? I want to give it to these guys, the IT Copilot test user, which is this, right? So now the next question is, which policy do I want to assign to them? So I want to assign the IT Copilot test user meeting policy to the users in IT who are testing out our license, right? So I'll just hit on this, and then this speaks about the rank. So the rank is if a user is in this group if users in this group are part of any other group with a policy assigned, those users will inherit the policy from the group with the highest rank. Now, what is the highest rank? The rank starts from 1 upwards. So this is select rank 1 if you want the selected policy to be effective for everyone in the selected group. So I'm going to leave the rank as 1 so that it's going to be the highest policy that will take effect, just in case they are also members of other teams meeting policies, right? So I'm going to hit on apply. So if I click on apply and then I confirm this, so what happened next is that these users are going to have the are going to have the policy assigned to them. Having said that, so the next thing that we want to do is the policy has been assigned to these users. Let's just go check on one of the users now very quickly before we move on. So if you bring up Christopher, who's a member of that group, then of course you can look at policies here that the user has. Then you can look at meeting policy, which is meeting policy. So it has not yet written to this place. It just takes some while to write here. But at the end of the day, that is the policy that is going to be applied to the users that are in that group. So the next thing that I want us to do is, so it's still not picking it yet, but definitely to pick it up. So you can also use PowerShell to force these things to happen very quickly. So just before we call it a wrap, the next thing you want to check is the reporting. Now you've given this license to the users from group, and then you've created policy for them in terms of Microsoft Teams, even though there are other workloads, right? And the reason why we're doing that is because we want them to be able to use the transcription option in Teams so that the AI generated notes can pick up what they are having conversation about and form the AI notes as a meeting recap for references, for those who were not in the meeting, and then for future, minute adoption and all of this, right? So having said that, we mentioned that we are going to, at the end of the day, come back to, so if you look at our little architecture that we drew here, so where have we gone? I'm looking for that guy. I don't know where you're hiding, man. So, but I know that the last thing that we're supposed to do was to come back to the M365 admin center, and then we are to look at the reporting, the usage so far. So we'll come here. So if you come to this place, of course, you can actually see a lot about reporting in terms of the overview of Copilot. You can see how to track who is using what in your organization. Yeah, this place is cool, right? You can actually explore it. But one place that is so simple and straightforward, straight to the point to understand what is happening so far is a report. So if you come down to reports and then you click on usage reports, then you can have an expanded view about what has been happening in your environment as per applications or workload, Copilot inclusive. So now, if you look at this, I am just going to click on Copilot because that is where we are. So what have you done? You've given this license to the users for a while. You want to track how much they have adopted the use of the license, just so when you give it to the entire population in the organization, you can be sure of who and where or what the application is being used to do. So if you come down here, you will see like the readiness phase. You see people, yes, and a lot of empty spaces, people who have the license and they're not doing anything with it. So this can make informed decisions. So again, we can come to usage reports. Usage report is going to give us every step, everywhere this license has been used. So in Teams, we have 2 users who have used it. Then if you come to Excel, only 1 user. Then if you come to business charts, and then you have PowerPoint, you have Word, so the reason why you're having this, like for example, in OneNote and in Outlook, we have not used it for, nobody in this organization has used it for the last 30 days. Look at what's there. past 30 days, November 12 to December 11. So of course we can turn it on to 90 days as against 60 days, just so we can track what has been happening in the last 90 days. We can also decide to track it down to 180 days, 6 months down the line, and see how it has been used so far. And the good thing about this is that when you come to this, when you come here, right? I'm trying to look for a place where you can export it, but that's not my very point. My very first point. My very first point here is that you can decide to go check out this report, and you have like alphanumeric stuffs representing the user display name and the username. Yes, this is because you've turned on the let me take you there and I remember the right word to use. I think it's concealed, right? So if you come to reporting and then you come to, if you come, no, not reporting. So if you come to org-wide settings, so if you come to settings and then you come to org-wide setting or the org settings, then you're going to have something here called reports. If I scroll down very quickly, I'll see reports. So if I look at reports and then if I say display concealed user group and site name in all reports. So if I do this, so the reason I'm showing you this is just so you go check your own reports and then you see that it is not displaying names for you. This is where you can go to turn that on. So if I come to reports here, where are you again? I come back to reports, down below here, and I come to usage report. And then if I come back to Copilot usage now, Copilot, where are you? I will find out that Copilot is, the usage report is no longer going to show me the names of the users, right? It's going to conceal it for me by putting alphanumeric stuffs like I told you earlier. So now this is what you would see when it comes to Copilot's reports, right? So, but you can come back. So as soon as I come back to org settings and then I go back to reports and then I turn off or uncheck the conceal user usage reports or any reports, you find that it's going to be so I'm going to reports where I am here, org settings, and then if I come back to reports, where are you? If I come back to reports, then I can uncheck the conceal user group and site display. If I click on this and I click this open, then I can come back to reports again and then the usage reports. And then if I come to Copilots, if I come to Copilot here, man. So I click on this and then I scroll down to this place. I'm going to have the names displaying for me again, and I can decide what date range between 1 and 6 months that I want to look at. So these reports readjust, and then it shows me here that the last activity here, last activity date on Copilot in UTC Wednesday is last activity. So if you can take note of some few features, this is last activity date on Excel. So if you scroll down, you also see on other applications. So if you want to do the reporting, you can click on you can click here, and then the report is going to get exported just in a bit. So inside of this VM, I do not have Excel. So it's just going to be, if I use that to open, it's going to be scattered. But this is what the usage report is going to be. If you have Excel to open it in your application, in your device, it's just going to be very plain. So what have we been able to do? What we've been able to do here is that we have created a dynamic group for the people that want to take care of the onboarding, right? To understand how or what goes on with onboarding. And then we make that group dynamic so that users in IT who are testing the application are going to be entering into that group when we create it. And then we confirm that from the Entra Admin Center by validating the rules. And then we came to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center where we are able to assign license to the group itself, not the individual. So the license assignment to group used to be available in Entra, but it has now been changed to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. So what happens is that at this point now, what you see is what you see is the license is given to the group from the M365 Admin Center, and then what happens next is we now check how can I give license to people, and then I don't enable them for some important features that these users may need, and that's why we went back to the Teams Admin Center to say, okay, let's create a custom meeting policy, and instead of assigning the policy to a user, let's assign that custom meeting policy to the group, and then when we assign that policy to the group, to that group, then we should make the priority of that policy as one so that it overrides whatever policy that is assigned to all, that is assigned to whatever group that the users in the testing group also belong to, so that that take precedence. So what happens at this point is that when those users have their meetings, then and they enable transcription, they are going to be having transcription, and then when they have transcription, the AI generated note also is going to be there for them to be able to, see what has transpired during the course of that meeting. So Copilot is so interesting. If you want to try it out, of course, you can go for, check-ins from the admin centers. You can buy just once it counts and try to see how it works. So for M365, unfortunately, there is no trial for M365, but for Pro, of course, you can try that out yourself and see how it is. I hope today's session was insightful, and I've seen some few comments on from LinkedIn and from YouTube. Thank you very much for encouraging me, and I hope that we are still going to have more conversations about the Copilot in the very nearest future. So I wish you a very wonderful weekend, and this is me saying bye from here. Cheers.